1975 MGB that we're working on. We're installing some carpet in it, and while we're installing carpet in it, thought it might be a good idea to add a little bit more sound deadening. The owner added a bunch of sound deadening called Fat Mat, and it happens to be, we have the same stuff on the shelf. There's plenty of brand names out there. As you can see, the carpeting has begun, and there's plenty of sections that you can see on the floor have the Fat Mat brand sound deadening in it. This car's had some overspray on it. That's not going to be a problem unless, of course, the overspray happens to be loose, in which case carpet, glue, and even padding like this won't stick to it. So for that, what we do is we use a little bit of lacquer thinner. In this case, it's a bit of a dirty bottle, not exactly paint booth ready, but it's used to take off some of the paint in areas that you don't mind, dirt that you don't mind touching paint rather quickly. Now, while this piece of carpet is completed in this B, and this one's ready to go in, other side soon to happen, we're looking at various areas that we can add some sound deadening in. I don't know if the camera rings through well, but this has a lot of echo to it. So we're going to add a little bit of sound deadening in here. It doesn't have to be the same shape. It can just be a piece across here. As long as you put something in there, you'll get rid of the tin can or the drumming effect in a car. When you're adding stuff like this in, you can add in 30 pounds to a car, and of course, as we all know in any car, you've got so many pounds equals the loss of 1 horsepower. It's usually, I want to say, 10 pounds to 1 horse. So if you're willing to lose, quote unquote, 1 or 2 horsepower, you can add some weight. So on this car, again, we're gonna add some sound deadening into here, and going in here, we're going to add a piece down there, and maybe a piece up here as well that'll stretch back, so we don't have quite the hollow tinny sound. And you can hear the trim on the car too is loose. So all this stuff kind of adds up, and it becomes quite loud. Now, this car, being a convertible, will always have quite a bit of wind noise and other sounds to it. But amazingly enough, if you insulate an MGB fairly well, you can actually get them to sound fairly quiet. So I'll add a few pieces into some sections in the back here, and then I'll be back in a moment. Sound deadening, which should not be confused with heat insulation, although either product will do a little bit of the other product's job. The transference of heat through a product like this, which is solid, is not exactly what we would consider insulation. So when looking at this video, we're looking at trying to quiet the car down, and if you want to keep heat from coming through, I can't tell you how many people want heat to not come through their floorboards, their dashboard, their cowl, and even sometimes the rear compartment, depending on where and how the heat comes through in that particular vehicle make. That's something to pay attention to. In terms of our sound deadening, if you look inside the hole over here, you'll see that inside there we have 2 pieces. They're both about 6 inches tall. One's about 5 inches long, and the other one's about a foot or so long. And I heated them up with the heat gun on the back side just before applying them. They stick really well that way, especially right now where we're in Minnesota, April 1st, April Fool's Day, and it's about 60 degrees, 65 degrees inside and outside right now. Anyways, so this side has not been insulated yet, and again, I don't know if the camera can pick this up or not, but I can definitely hear this is hollow, and it's hollow throughout the whole thing. We're just taking care of this area up here because this is about to be covered. The other thing to look at is sometimes trim and things like this can also help quiet things down when you tighten that stuff down. But going to the other side, we start tapping on this, and it is quieter, but I can also hear the trim moving around in this car too. So So that's something that should be addressed before the car is completely sealed up if the owner desires it. So that's done. The other thing we're going to do is we're about to take and look at this here, and rather than just cutting a piece out real quick, we can put this down. We can take our marker to this and mark this up, and then we can use our pattern for both that side and this side. Since it only takes about a minute to do that, I'm willing to do that on both the top one there and the smaller one, just to get it done, and then it won't be in the way of the panel that we're going to put in. So I'll get the other two on the inside there, and the two there, the two on the side that I'm standing on, and it'll all be heated with the heat gun here, just a simple ATD heat gun. They're fairly affordable, but be careful. You will melt carpet if you're not ultimately very careful with a heat gun like that. We're going to continue with these items right here. These are not accurate, but they're cut out to an approximate. Now this is not the type of work that you have to be very accurate at, and your time consumption to be very accurate is not really going to help the noise level in the car. So getting them close enough is essentially the work you're doing. On the other side, when I put those in, I cut them out. I use my patterns on the back side. This one's pretty accurate. This one's pretty darn inaccurate when you compare it to this one over here, which was not very accurate to begin with. But that's okay, because we're just going to get this on, get this going, and continue with the car and get it carpeted fairly quickly after we're done with all of these. Okay, and a really quick show of the video of what we're going to do to heat these things up. I'm just going to heat this side up to get this one side done. I don't want to get this stuff blowing around and in my on the back side of this, because it will become very sticky in a minute here. I also want to make sure that I'm holding it up to the correct location here, make sure I know exactly how I'm going to stick it in place when I'm done. So I have this one ready to go. I have this one ready to go. They're both in the right area. Now the other thing is you see I've got carpet all around here, and I'm going to actually take this carpet and pick it up and move it out of the way. I don't want any chance of any of this carpet actually getting hot during the time that I'm going to be doing this. If that happens, I will melt it, and I don't want to have to replace any piece of carpet. See how fast this is. I'm going to show you while it's still hot. Just going to put it in, and let's see if this sticks. It's going to stick. The area was pre-cleaned previously. This stuff here was just warm enough, but I will say that I should have probably got it a little warmer. But in my excitement to get it done for the camera and to say that I can do this in a very short time, I didn't heat it up that much. But I'll do the same to this big piece, the other pieces, and as I do it, it'll continue to get quieter. Shots here, first of all. The decibel level has gone down. You can see that when I installed this, it ended up over here a little bit and off here. But this again is imprecise work. If there was something over this, or if you could see something, I would be concerned. But for the most part, wherever this stuff goes, you just don't need to worry about it too much. You're just aiming to get rid of some of the drumming sound as you're driving down the road. This product, in order to install it, you hold it up and you apply it. And since the sheet metal is whatever the temperature it is, and if you heat this material up, you will suddenly cool it down to the temperature of the sheet metal. And 60-65 degrees with this isn't always enough to keep it held in place very well. So our goal here on this is get it on quick. And so if you're trying to keep it absolutely precise, you're going to have some issues. Now overall, the car's quieted down quite a bit. Inside here there was a few pieces of plastic filler that came through, so the fat mat did not sit on very well. Brand name again, it's just a Sound Deadener on the car. So there is a possibility that stuff could possibly come down over time, but we have quite a bit in here, and even if it sits on the bottom, it's still going to quiet the car down in some way, and I'm not terribly worried about those. But as you're applying the stuff, you want to make sure to get all the air bubbles out. They actually have this kind of fat pizza roller kind of thing. It's a wheel that rolls across this that you're supposed to use. I've applied it by hand many times with good luck. But anyways, End result is it's a little bit less, and if we apply some down and when these holes are filled in, this thing should get pretty quiet. Again, we're just taking this car and trying to improve it just a little bit more than what it was, because there's certain sections in every car that happen to be a little bit noisy. And classic cars, unlike modern cars, were not designed by computers but by humans, um, with little to no thought of what we now refer to as NVH, noise, vibration, harshness. So when you're driving a modern car and you're saying, this thing is quiet, I don't care what kind of car it is, and then you hop in your classic car, especially your old British cars like we work on here, German, American, it really doesn't matter. They're all pretty noisy. You will find quite a difference between modern vehicles, any type, to classic vehicles of just about any type as well. So anyways, there you go. Installation of a little bit of sound deadening. And before the carpet is completely down, there will be some heat-resistant material, such as this asbestos type material that's original to this car. It stayed in there, so there it'll stay. And then we also have the gearbox tunnel and the prop shaft tunnel have some extra heat and somewhat sound deadening material on the backside, just like the original.